Hello. I think we are live. Welcome, fam, to Authors After Dark, Friday, 12 noon edition, but it is dark somewhere in this world. We have a very special show today. I'm really excited. I am interviewing, I don't know why I keep saying we, the collective we. I am interviewing Angeline Trevena. One of those ways is correct. She's going to be joining in just a moment. Totally an inspiration to me on this Instagram. One of the first indies that I followed on here, and I've been following her ever since. She's fantastic. She is a prolific indie author. In fact, she has the notable status of having published the most books of any of our guests here on Authors After Dark. So kudos to that. I got a special slice of cake to go with that awesome award. So we will be talking to her very soon. Let's see. Yeah, and so she has published multiple world building guides. I only have 3. I believe there are 4 total. And she just released a second edition of 30 Days of World Building. Oh, she's trying to request to join. Let me see if I can request you. No worries, y'all. This is what happened. I've invited you, and maybe that will work. Oh, I think it's working. Hooray!
We are there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. That's good. I shut down my Instagram app, reopened it, and it works fine.
Perfect. That's usually what it needs, is just a quick reboot. That's what we all need, is a quick reboot now and then. But welcome.
Turn it off and on again.
Exactly. I'm so excited you're here. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Wonderful. And I went out this morning and got you a piece of cake. Because not only is cake mentioned in your world building guides, you also tend to take a piece of sweet treat and put it next to your desk. So this is my ode to you for being
I love it.
the biggest episode's guest. It's a tres leches cake. I can't wait to eat it. I added some strawberries.
Yeah, that's what. So it makes that cake one of your 5 a day.
Great. That's good news. And you're an authority, so I'm glad that I've got that confirmation. I will eat it in tribute of you.
Good.
I was saying before you got on here, you are our most prolific guest I've ever had on Authors After Dark. I went on Amazon, and correct me if my count is wrong. I counted 30 books.
Yeah, possibly. I wouldn't be able to correct you. I am at that point where I'm not even sure.
Okay. That's amazing. Also, why there's cake. Because just want to shout out all of your hard work and all of the things that you've done. I'm in awe. I think you're awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. So I found out about you at first from your world building guides on here. And I also have listened to several of your podcasts, like you were a guest on the Self-Publishing Show, and most recently in Stark Reflections, where you talked at length about world building. And I just wanted to get you to talk quickly about how you refer to world building as actually another character that fantasy and sci-fi authors should consider. Consider your world a separate character in addition to the actual physical beings that you're creating. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because that was so fascinating, and that really stuck with me as an author. I'm like, yeah, the world around you is another being, like literally.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when we create characters, we create things like backstory, and we create conflict for them. And this is all stuff that you should be creating for your world. You can give your world a backstory. You can give your world some serious hang-ups and some some like traumatic things that has happened in the past of your world, and they might be things that have left a social scar. So it might be like there's extreme poverty because of a war that's happened, or it might be a physical scar, like if there's been a volcano eruption or an earthquake, something like that. So you can have physical scars on a landscape as well as social scars within the society. And yeah, absolutely, your work can be your antagonist. I write a lot of dystopian fiction. That's my favorite genre, and post-apocalyptic. And so generally my world is my antagonist. I very rarely have, I don't tend to write like a villain, like a baddie character. I tend to have my world building as my bad guy. So quite often it's the government structure that is the bad thing and causing all the conflict, and that my characters have to fight against. So yeah, there are loads of reasons why you should attack your world building in the same way as you do a character, and you can give it flaws, you can give it strengths, just like you would characters, and you can weave it into the life of your main character. You can make it cause conflict. Your world can be an inciting incident for your character, or it can be a mentor for your character. It can help your character along the way. You know, there's so many different ways that world building can be approached in the same way as a character. So yeah.
And we had a great comment from Charlotte Dune. She said, love this too. The world is enough of an antagonist for most women. We don't need extra bad guys, which actually really reminded me of one of your fiction books that I read this past December, The Spine of Winter. And our main character, for me, most of the time, I felt like the landscape and other people. It was a dystopian novel, just to give you all the cliff notes. It's a dystopian novel set in a very winter-like world. And for me, the whole time, the tension for me and my concern was other men finding her, because, you know, she wasn't a super physically strong character and was very dependent on her brother in that situation. And I think that's so true. Your antagonist doesn't actually need to be another character. It can be the world, which enter world building and learning how to make a nuanced and well-built world. And another thing too that you mentioned, and I think this is so important for me as an indie and as a beginning indie, and I'm sure you've learned this, which is why you share this advice, but not all of your world building will make it into the book, and that's okay.
No. No, I do massive amounts of world building, and I have lots and lots of fantastic things that never actually make it into the book, and sometimes that makes me really sad, and I'm like, oh, I need to put it in somewhere. And it's so true, the saying about killing your darlings when you're doing editing, because you have to do it with your world building as well. There will be times where there is this super cool thing about your world that you want to talk about, but actually it does not serve the plot at all. So put it in some extra bonus content for your readers to download.
Yes. That's where you stick it in the newsletter, the Patreon, those deleted scenes. Your super fans will want to read those, even though there was no progress to the plot. Which also led me to another point you mentioned too in the past, in other interviews. If your world building isn't serving one of three things, you need to cut it out. Could you just remind us all what those three things are?
Yeah, so this is my rules for world building, and your world building, if it makes it into the book, it needs to be doing one or more of these three things, which is pushing the plot forwards, revealing character, or exploring the themes of your book. And those three things, ideally you want your world building to be doing one or more of those for it to be important enough to include in your book. Now, I'm a great advocate of just cool things. If you want to put something that is just super cool and it's not doing any of those things, but my God, it will just give your readers one of those, that is so awesome moments, then that's just sort of your wild card. You're allowed to put that in, but not too much.
Why shouldn't I keep it? It's precious.
Exactly. It's like I write about coffee a lot in my books. Nobody drinks tea in my books because I don't drink tea. And it doesn't really serve the plot. But I mean you know that in The Spine of Winter I have that section where they find coffee and they have not had coffee for so long. And yeah, I wrote, it's basically like a page which is an ode to coffee.
Yes.
But I just wanted it in there.
And as a person who also loves coffee and also knows the state of the world, I'm like, man, in the post-apocalyptic world, I'm going to still really need coffee and chocolate, which are at risk because of climate change. This is not good. I need to start hoarding now.
Yeah.
So I loved that. I love that in The Spine of Winter. It was like very much to me, I'm like, this is a love letter to the coffee drinkers.
It is, but it did also reveal more about the world because you got that, explained that they have gone for so long without little luxuries, things that we take for granted. And yes, it was a self-indulgent ode to coffee because I love coffee.
Yes.
But it also served a function.
It did, because for me, what I loved about that story too is I could sense there was a lot deeper reasoning behind all the events, but none of them were presented to me because it wasn't essential to the main plot. Yep. I was just sticking with the main character, and I was really, honestly, the tension for me was this girl is so vulnerable, so I really, bravo, that was a great one.
Thank you.
And also, one other thing I wanted to chat with you, which I discovered when I was listening to more of your past interviews, you're actually a discovery writer, or some people use the term pantser. And so it's actually so fun that you write these very intricate and wonderful world building guides. But that's not actually your method. You keep it all in your head.
I do.
Which is amazing.
Which is not what I recommend.
do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly that. These world building guides are the way that's the sensible way to world build. You should absolutely do it that way. I should do it that way. But unfortunately, I am a discovery writer through and through. And I don't know that I'll ever change. So what I do whenever I write a book, the world is the first thing that comes to me, and I usually spend 4 to 6 months literally just thinking when I'm walking, when I'm doing the washing up. I'm just thinking about the world, and I hold it all in my head, and I don't write any of it down, and I dread to think how many ideas get lost. Probably lost.
Hopefully
and then
eventually.
when I start writing the book, I have no idea what the storyline is. I don't know what the ending's going to be. I discover it as I write, but I know what the world is like. I have my world fully built, but that's all I need. I have even started writing books without even knowing my main character's first name before. So
that's awesome. I feel like I am a discovery writer in denial. I think that I'm an outliner, but honestly, The Anchor of Time, my first book, and then my next book were both discovery written, and then I go back and take that rough draft and then do this stuff. So I think I'm a bit of a mashup, but I also appreciate the thrill of all that potential, where you sit down.
Absolutely.
And, I think too in Sanctity and Sorcery, one of the most prolific things that you say is world building is the closest we'll ever get to magic, or is a certain type of magic, which I just love. I feel
it definitely is. Yeah, it's this amazing thing that your world comes from nothing. What it's not, you can't touch it, you can't taste it, you can't feel it. It's breath on the wind when it first comes to you. And you create it in your mind, you translate that world onto paper in words, and then your reader can touch it and they can taste it and they can feel it. And it's like, if you really think about it, that is crazy. Like, that's absolutely insane that we have that magical ability. And yeah, I do believe it's magic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even Carl Sagan said books are the closest, is the proof that humans can work magic.
Yeah.
And it is a form of time travel, because we can read this beautiful world about it hundreds of years later. You know, so that's just fantastic. And one thing I wanted to discuss too, all of your guides seem to be kind of geared towards a 1 month, kind of a prompt a day, 1 month. So by the end of 30 days, you'll basically have that sorted, or at least that part of your story sorted. And you just released a second edition to your 30 days of world building, which
I did, yeah,
is actually started as an Instagram 30-day challenge, which I think is so fun.
It did. Yeah, it started out, we did it on our podcast, me and Holly, one of my co-hosts who writes under HB Line. We put together a 30-day Instagram challenge, and we ran it over on the Unstoppable Authors podcast Instagram. And then I expanded it a bit and turned it into a worksheet. And then I looked at it and I was like, this would make a book, actually. And I said to Holly, would you mind if I took this and I turned it into a book? And luckily she was quite happy for me to do that. And so that was what became 30 Days of World Building. And then I said to my husband, I think I'm done. I can't really think of another topic that I could do an entire book about. And yeah, every time I've written a world building guide, I say that, and I'm like, I can't think of another topic that would make an entire book. And he'll go, you could write a whole book about this. And I'm like, nah, it won't make a whole book. And then I start thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, I've just got 30 chapters in my head.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, it's another book. So yeah, so we're up to 4 now, and I already know what my next one's going to be. So
nice. There's going to be a 5th one. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. When is that? Do you have any idea?
It's percolating.
Okay.
It's in percolating. And yeah, in true Discovery writer style, I don't plan my publishing year in advance. Again, all indie authors, please don't do as I do. I'm not a shining example of being organized. So yes, it's percolating up there, which could mean it will come out in 5 months' time, or it could mean that it will be another 2 years, you know. We don't know.
You can't rush these things. They happen when they happen, and they're wonderful when they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to go back to, you mentioned podcasting, because you and Holly H.B. Lynn also have Unstoppable Authors, which I also listen to, and y'all are also prolific podcasters as well. You've made it over 100 episodes. I believe that happened last year. And you've also brought on a 3rd podcaster, Julia Scott. Am I correct?
That's right. Yeah. It's I think me and Holly got a bit fed up of hearing each other's voices. I know that Holly is watching this right now, so I'm only teasing. No, we decided that it's a lot of pressure, right? Running, it's because it's weekly. We run it weekly, and yeah, it's a lot of work. So we decided that we would like to bring a 3rd person on, and Julia was the natural answer to that question. We're both, you know, the 3 of us are peas in a pod. We're inseparable anyway. So yeah, she was the natural conclusion, and we asked her, and luckily she said yes, and she's fitted in just wonderful. You know, naturally. So
yeah, it's great, and it's weekly. It drops every Friday, correct?
Monday.
Every
Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Time's an illusion, but yes, Monday, not Friday.
Time is totally an illusion.
Because
especially these days.
Yeah, and so just for an example, it is 12:15 here, and it is like 5:15 there, correct?
It is, yeah.
You're also one of my only second guests to be off continent. My other one was Sarah S.J. Pratt from New Zealand. So,
yeah. So I am speaking to you from the future.
Yes. Perfect. I only speak to future guests anyway.
That's good.
It's a policy I have. And I wanted to talk to you too. These things are great because they actually become a story Bible for your book. And you have, any fantasy writer should know that should have a story Bible. I call it the grimoire, the story grimoire.
Oh, I like that.
Where you have all of your character notes, what icon they have, what powers they have, and then also your crazy timelines and stuff like that. So one thing that I also love is like, once you have this rolling with your stories, like you can refer back to this, and especially if you have problems with organization, it's really nice that that you have paid forward the pain you suffered and been like, use this workbook. Like me.
Yes, I learned about story Bibles the hard way when I was writing my very first series is 4 books, and I was halfway through the 3rd book, and I was literally going back and getting the copy of the first book to look up what this person's brother's wife's name was. I was like, this is ridiculous. There's got to be an easier way. And then I learned about story Bibles or world Bibles, series Bibles, grimoires, whatever you want to call them. And I realized how entirely essential they are. Like, absolutely. I have a notebook for every single world that I build now, whether it's a single standalone book or whether it's a whole series. I have a notebook for every single world that I create.
That's fantastic. And also, if you're a prolific notebook and pen collector, you finally have something to put in there.
I know. It's a complete excuse to buy more notebooks.
Which we all need those excuses, let's be honest. Let's see, I think I've covered most of that. I just wanted to talk too about just your journey in self-publishing, because you have been self-publishing for quite a while, and I'm sure the industry has changed since then.
Yeah.
Can you give us a rundown, just to chat? I know that you've been drawn to stories for such a long time. You were reading, you were a voracious reader as a kid. You wrote as a kid too.
I did.
When did you decide you wanted to publish, and when did you decide self-publishing?
So when I was a child, all I wanted to do was act, and I went to university. I have a degree in drama and writing, and it was halfway through my first year at university that I realized I wasn't enjoying the drama side, but I was loving the writing side. And that's when I realized I didn't really want to be on stage. I didn't want to be in the lights. I wanted to write instead. I wanted to be creating the characters rather than playing somebody else's characters. And so that was when the seed. But I'm quite mature, and that was a long time ago. And it was years before the Kindle was going to be released, so there was no real easy self-publishing back then. It was sort of trad or nothing, and we all know that getting a traditional deal is a pipeline dream that most of us will never achieve. So it was in about I think it was about 2013. I started learning about self-publishing, and I suggested to my writing group that I was a member of at the time, I said, why don't we put together an anthology of short stories and self-publish it? And they laughed at me. They actually laughed, because in the UK back in 2013, it was still considered that self-publishing is was sort of the desperate last attempt of a hack writer who wasn't good enough to get a trad deal. Unfortunately, some people still believe that, but yeah, it was. Yeah, absolutely. It was very much still seen as that back in 2013. And I thought, I'll show you. I will show you. So I learned how to do everything. I mean, for one thing, I had a budget of 0, basically. That's how I started publishing. And I wanted to learn everything. One of the reasons I love self-publishing is because I can micromanage everything, every single stage, and I like that. So I had I knew some self-published authors on what was it was the social media run by Google.
Wattpad? No.
Google Plus or something like that it was called. Yeah, long time ago. And one of the self-publishers on there was amazing. He taught me, out of the kindness of his heart, gave up his free time and taught me how to hand code an ebook, because there weren't easy, cool ways. I mean, it's so much easier now.
Yes, I just press a button. And then,
yeah, I use a program called Juto for my ebooks, and yeah, I just import my Word document, bam, it's an ebook. That didn't happen back in 2015 when I published my first book. I hand coded it in a program called Sigil. And yeah, he gave up his free time to teach me how to hand code an ebook. When I'd finished, I sent it to him. He said, oh, these are the problems with it. This is how I would do it instead. So I changed it. And the fact that somebody was willing to spend that amount of time teaching me how to hand code an ebook for nothing, for no return whatsoever, that is so typical of the indie author sphere.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed every day by just how generous indie authors are with their time and their expertise. And this is something that I very much seek to pay forward for the rest of my life. That's one of the reasons I love doing the Unstoppable Authors podcast. And I know that Holly and Julia are very much in the same mindset, that we just want to pay back all the generosity and all of the kindness that indie authors have shared with us over the years, because we all learn from each other. And I think it's amazing. And there are so many industries where people are competing against each other and see other people as their competitors. But in indie publishing, there are some people like that, and I've come across some people like that, but the vast majority of indie publishers are so generous with their time and so happy to help other people. And then you see them pass that karma on later on, and I just love it. I love the whole idea of that, you know, just the social side of being an indie author is amazing, and our community is just amazing. And yeah, and that is something that really drew me to self-publishing. Like, who in the trad world is going to sit down with you for nothing
that doesn't exist,
and teach you how to code an ebook? You know, because big publishers are businesses, and you know, they have to be always thinking about the bottom line. And so we have a lot more freedom as self-publishers, and I like that. So yeah, so 2015 I released my very first book, which was a novella in ebook. It has never been anything other than an ebook. I've never released it in a paperback. And yeah, many books later, I obviously enjoyed it. I caught the bug. It is addictive. I'll admit that I'm quite addicted to writing and releasing books. So yeah, I'm very grateful for all the changes in publishing, and that we can do this. And I'm so glad that it has become a serious business now, you know, and it's not just people just bunging stuff up. People are so business minded, and it's amazing to watch. It has been amazing to watch that transition, and for self-publishing to it, you know, there are people out there who still think it's just rubbish and just full of hacks who can't really write, but we know.
Yeah, we know better.
We know it is. Yeah, it is full of very, very serious business people who are doing amazing things, because we aren't authors. When we choose to self-publish, we're not just authors.
Yeah,
we're running publishing businesses.
So
other than technology, which of course has changed hugely, thank goodness I don't have to hand code ebooks anymore. Yeah, just the seriousness, the level and the quality of self-publishing has changed so much and so quickly. It's been amazing to watch, and it's been an honor to be part of that.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, you've been literally on the cutting edge from all of that, and just your G+ story. I'm still chewing on that. I'm just like, that would take so long. You have to be very like as much as I feel like I'm a very dedicated book producer at this point, I don't know if I would have had it in me to learn code. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. That's incredible.
Do you know what? I don't think I could do it now. If you sat me down with that program and went, there you go, hand code an ebook, I'd just look at it and go,
I can't
don't
look
know.
up G+ and send you an email in it and hope that you understand. It was a cake recipe. Oh, wow. So, and you have some things coming up for you this year. You are currently researching your next book, which has to do with boats.
Yes.
And you hate boats, so it's going really interesting.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, like I say, all my stories come from a world first, like the idea for the world. And I wanted to write about canals. I live in the middle of England, which is full of canals. It's like canal land.
Oh.
And so I'm around canals all the time, and there is this one particular place where we walk along a canal. There's this very tiny marina. It's really, really small, and it houses maybe 4 boats. And every time we walk past it, I was like, I'm going to write a book about that place. That place is going in a book. And it just inspired me so much, and this world started creating. And then I was like, oh, I know nothing about boats. Absolutely nothing. I've never been on a canal barge. I've never opened a locked gate. I'm going to have to do some research. And then I realized I really hate water and I really hate boats. But yeah, I have spent considerable time by water and on boats now, suffering for my art. And the fun thing is that what you may not know is I write middle grade fiction under a pen name, and I'm currently writing another book, my next book for that, and it has another fear of mine in it. It is all about spiders, and I am a huge arachnophobe. Yeah. So I don't know what I'm doing to myself. I'm writing one book about boats and I'm scared of boats, and I'm writing another book about spiders and I'm scared of spiders.
What about a book about cake? How about a cake book?
I should definitely write a book about cake. I suspect that I could write an entire world building guide on food.
Yes.
I really do.
Yes. You and in your Stark Reflections interview, you guys both talked about food quite a bit, and I was like, I wonder if that is coming down, because I recently was gifted a George R. R. Martin cookbook from the Song of Ice and Fire, and I'm like, well, you know, you've made it when they make cookbooks about your world. I'm like, I don't think George looked over any of these recipes, y'all. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
my husband has the Lord of the Rings one.
I would be interested in that. I do a Hobbit Thanksgiving once a year where I try to eat like a Hobbit. I do breakfast, second breakfast, 11sies, luncheon, afternoon tea, dinner, and supper, which is exhausting.
Yeah.
I recommend, if you're going to eat like a Hobbit, turn one or more snacks into a cocktail or tea. My pro tip.
I'm a great believer in second breakfast.
I am too. I carry that through the year often. Well, this is so great. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know that you do so many things. You're an prolific indie author. You're a mom. You're a wife. You're an events manager. You're a podcaster weekly. And you're also, and I love this, you're also a fantasy cartographer. And you have quite the following on TikTok just doing fantasy cartography.
I do have quite the following. People keep asking me, like, people keep asking me what my TikTok secret is, and I'm like, I don't know how this happened.
Yeah. No, well,
because it took me about 3.5 months to hit 10,000 followers.
That's amazing.
On TikTok.
Yeah.
So I hit 1,000 in like 2 weeks.
Just doing those videos.
Just drawing maps. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, from what I've heard, basically very soon, all indies should at least have a TikTok account, which I do, but I feel very old. Like, if I feel like an old person, I'm like, how do I use this?
Oh my goodness, I have never felt so old in all my life than when I first went on TikTok. I felt like a dinosaur. But interestingly enough, I break all the TikTok rules with my account because they're like,
you right now.
Yeah, they're like, you have to show your face on TikTok. I don't. You have to use trending sounds on TikTok. I don't. I break all of those TikTok rules. They say, oh, you have to post 3 times a day. No, I don't have time.
Yeah. How often do you post?
Once a day.
Okay.
That's it. Most days. Now and again, I take a break. But yeah, I don't know how my success over on TikTok has happened, and I feel very old.
They're addictive videos, honestly.
There you go.
The ones that you shared on here, I find them, it's just fun. And for anyone wondering, she just draws a simple line map, and she speeds it up, and you just get to see this map transform, and it's a world map, and it goes in line with everything that you mention in here, and all of, from what I've seen, all of your world building guides, where build a map when you're in the beginning stages. You don't have to make it attractive. It does not have to be TikTok ready, but it really will help you. And also, I think I'm seeing a lot more maps as part of books now, which I love a map. I think
me too.
You know, they're just beautiful. And I also love that you have fantasy cartographer on your resume. That's something I've always aspired to. What do you do? You know, I write science fiction and make fantasy maps. You know, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, probably just as recently as a year ago, if someone had said to me, like, can you draw maps, I'd be, no, I can't draw at all. I'm rubbish at drawing. And I just started with no pressure. I was just drawing them for me, and I think that's a really important way to start. If you're going to start doing something new, don't show anyone. So I just did it for me. I bought a few books that are really good for teaching you how to do maps. and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced, and I have people on TikTok say the exact same thing, where they're like, I absolutely love your maps. I wish I could draw like you, but I can't draw at all. And I say to them, a year ago I said that. And it's just practice. So, and that's it. And just trying stuff.
Your next world building guide, a lot of blank pages, be pretty easy, you know. Yeah, very inspirational stuff. And also your fiction work too. When I was reading The Spine of Winter, I asked you a bit about your editing process, and you're just all around wonderful, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to chat with you. You definitely inspire me, so keep up the great work. And I think the next stop for you is London Book Fair. Am I right? Or did that already happen?
Yeah. No. That's the first week of April. I'm toddling off to London for my first ever going to London Book Fair. I've never been before. I suddenly realized I haven't been to London in about a decade.
Oh, wow.
So if I don't get completely lost, we'll be doing well.
Oh man, I am so excited for that. Take lots of pictures. That's very exciting.
Yeah, it'll be all over my TikTok and my Instagram. Hey, London baby, because I haven't been there for a long time, and I'm quite scared.
Well, have a slice of cake for me. I think this will be amazing. Julia Slack, author, where can I find your podcast? Where's authors?
Yeah, so the podcast is called Unstoppable Authors. Our website is unstoppableauthors.com, so you can find us there. We're on all the podcast platforms. Just search for us, or come and find us on Instagram. Just search for Unstoppable Authors and you will find us.
And if you're looking to find a copy of these world building guides, they're available on your website, correct?
Yeah, you can buy the ebooks directly from me. If you want the paperbacks, head to Amazon, but the ebooks are wide, so they're pretty much available everywhere, including direct from my website.
Awesome. Which, if you get it directly from you, you get the most.
I do.
Yeah. So it's the best. If you're going to buy the ebook, buy it directly from her website, because she gets to keep the most money, which means she gets to keep writing more books for us. So that's great. It's a win-win for everyone. Thank you so much. I really value your time and just giving me a chance to talk to you and pick your brain. I'll keep on following you, and y'all should too. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been good fun.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.